my dear grandchildren, here's a story that we've read before, but there's no harm in reading stories over again, is there? I want to read it to you again so you'll have it for any time you want to look at it. It's called Alfie and the Big Boys. Alfie and the Big Boys. You can see our friend Alfie here. He's watching the other boys play, and those boys are bigger than he is, aren't they? Alfie and the Big Boys. Do you remember this story? Let's see if we remember as we go along. Here we have a picture of our friend Alfie. He's watching the boys, and what are they playing? Can you tell? They're playing ball or playing baseball or something like that, aren't they? Do you think Alfie wants to play with them? Looks to me like he would like to do that, wouldn't he? When you're a little bit bigger, Alfie, then you can. And here he's watching them again. And oh my, what is that one boy doing in the middle? The other boys are watching and wrestling, but what is that one boy doing in the middle? Can you see him? He's standing on his hands. Wow, what a good trick that is, huh? Okay. In the mornings, Alfie went to nursery school. His friends Bernard, Min, Sarah, and Sam, and the others went there too. Do you see? We've got all the parents here bringing their children to school. Here's Alfie, who's in the stroller. And that's Annie Rose, isn't it? Here's Alfie's mom. Here's some of the other children we've seen in various books. And let's see, over on this side, see, here's Alfie. Who's Alfie catching up to? That's Alfie's best friend, Bernard, isn't it? Bernard there. And other moms and dads bringing their children to school. Do you remember this girl? This girl's name is Min, isn't it? Remember Min? Alfie helped Min during the birthday party. Well, those are all Alfie's friends that he goes to school with. There were some interesting things to do at nursery school. Alfie drew pictures and learned how to write his name at the top. So you can see him playing a game with some of the other children. Something with cards or with matching, something like that. And there's other children in the back doing other things. Playing games and working on things. And down here, the children are drawing pictures. Wow, can you see in the back how many pictures there are? Lots of children have been drawing. There's Bernard drawing, and Alfie. And it says he learned to write his name at the top of the paper. See how this child wrote her name, Megan? Alfie could write his name on his paper as well. That's something you guys are working on learning, aren't you? He did counting and played in the shop. Looks like this is one of the teachers. And the children are doing some kind of counting. Down here, look at this wonderful shop that they have, with a shopping cart even. And Alfie is one of the shopkeepers today, isn't he? He and his friend there, they're selling things to people, and people are pretending, other children are pretending to buy things. It's another one of the teachers, right? That is a fun game, to pretend to have a shop. He sat on the floor with all the other children and listened to stories. They sang songs together. So here's a teacher reading a story. The children are all listening. Tell me when you can see Alfie and all of those other children. Lots of children there. Did you find Alfie? There he is. He's listening to the story, isn't he? And down here, here's the children singing. See if you can find Alfie singing. All the children singing. I bet it sounds so nice. There's Alfie. Isn't that nice? And sometimes they made masks or paper crowns to take home. Masks or paper crowns. Crowns are fun. This girl has a crown, doesn't she? And Alfie, and I bet that's Bernard, have masks, don't they? Some of the children are already going home. Looks like there's a mom who's come. Somebody dropped their mask, didn't they? Those look like fun things to make, don't they? I don't know who dropped the mask, though. I don't see anyone without one. Looks like everyone has theirs on, but there's a mask on the floor here that doesn't belong to anyone. That's interesting. Here's a big, big picture. Let me read the words to you, and then we'll look at the picture more closely. All right, I'll just show you this part where you can find Alfie and Bernard, okay? And then we'll look at it more closely. Alfie's nursery school was right next door to the big school where Alfie and the others would go when they were older. From their play area, they could see the big children when they came out to play. Alfie and Bernard knew the names of some of the boys at big school. There was Kevin Turley and Muhammad Rehan, Todd Rawlings, and the Santos twins who lived in Alfie's street. There was also a big boy with red hair whose name was Ian Barger. Bernard liked Ian a lot and laughed at the funny things he did. But Ian never took any notice of the little kids. So see, here's the fence. And the fence separates the area for the small children and the area for the bigger children. You can see in the area for the small children, well, they have a little baby buggy there, and a wagon and a tricycle. Looks like some kind of a scooter or something to play inside of, and a sandbox, but nobody's in the sandbox right now. And Bernard and Alfie are busy watching the big kids, aren't they? Some of the other children are playing with other things. And what are the big kids doing? Well, they're kicking a ball and running around. The girls are playing jump rope. And right here in the middle is the boy that Bernard likes to watch. And his name is Ian Barger. And right now he's doing a handstand, isn't he? And you see the small children watching him? All the boys in year 1 wanted to be in Ian's gang. This is see, let me back this picture up so you can see more of it. Mostly they played football. Sometimes they pulled their sweaters over their heads and tore through the playground, hanging on to each other and pretending to be a fierce dragon. So let's see, we have the girls watching, and this is kind of the back of the dragon. Okay, so I'm going to go through here we see the children hanging on to each other. What happened to this boy? He fell off the dragon, didn't he? It looks like that might be kind of the point of the game, isn't it? They run and run wildly with their sweaters and hoodies over their heads until they see who falls off of the dragon. Who's watching the dragon? There's Bernard and there's Alfie. They kept falling over on purpose and sometimes pulled other people over with them. Ian was always the one in front. Bernard and Alfie both wished they could join in and be part of the fierce dragon too. They'll have a turn to do that when they're older, won't they? They're a little small for that right now. Alfie went to nursery school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings. On Saturday and Sunday there was no school. Annie Rose was very pleased when Saturday morning came and Alfie could stay at home and play with her. One fine Saturday morning, Mum said she was going to take Alfie and Annie Rose with her to a pot plant sale. It was at a big house, not too far away. Alfie and Annie Rose had just started a good game. They didn't think pot plants sounded very interesting, but Dad was too busy to look after them that morning. So off they went. Let's see, we have Dad here. Looks like he's getting ready to do a project. And there's Alfie's mom. And what is the game that Alfie and Annie Rose had just started playing? I see cars and trucks and blocks. I even see looks like a little person, a soldier maybe, or a knight on top of the blocks. Can you see? That does look like it'd be fun. But they need to go with their mom because she's going to go to this sale. All right. The house where the pot plant sale was had a beautiful garden with shady paths and big trees and lots of flowers. So here's Alfie and Annie Rose and their mom coming. into where the sail is. See them? And then there's all these people looking at plants. They're just plants that are in pots. So you can take the whole plant home and then keep it in your yard. You put it in your garden. You can replant it into the soil, or you can leave it inside of the pot. It's flowers and different kinds of plants, and they're selling them. See how many there are? And Alfie's mom wants to buy some. You know what this thing is here? It's called a greenhouse. A greenhouse lets you keep plants alive and warm and getting plenty of sunshine even when it's cold. These people have a greenhouse so they can keep the flowers and things alive all winter. And that must be why they have so many that they can sell. But Alfie and Annie Rose soon got bored with watching Mom choose pot plants. Yeah, they look a little bit bored, don't they? Their mom doesn't. She's picking out the pretty flowers she wants to have to plant in the yard. But Alfie and Annie Rose are not as interested in that, are they? Luckily, there was a grassy place at the end of the garden where helpers were looking after some children who were playing on swings and a climbing frame and a slide. Mum asked Alfie if he would like to stay there for a little while, and he said yes. Okay, so there's Mom bringing Alfie to where the playthings are and the other children. Why do you suppose Annie Rose isn't going to do that? She's too small, isn't she? She has to wait till she's bigger. But here they have a climbing frame and swings, and somewhere here they have a slide. Right? And lots of children. That's what I see. Lots of children. That does look like it might be more fun than waiting for their mom to pick out plants. Oh, look at this big picture. So Mom went off. Here, we'll look at part of it and then the rest of it. So Mom went off with Annie Rose, saying that they would be back very soon. Do we know what shirt Alfie's wearing? Yeah, he's wearing his little stripy shirt. Okay, so there's the climbing frame and the slide. Oh, there's some tennis rackets and some big people helping. Lots and lots and lots of children on the slide, aren't there? And there's Alfie. He's watching. You think he'll go on the slide pretty soon? I think he will. There's children playing in the sandbox. And many children on the swings. And there's Alfie's mom and Annie Rose, and they've picked some flowers already to take home, haven't they? And then they're going to pick out some more. Alfie had not been there very long when a great commotion broke out. Somebody was screaming and yelling and making a terrible fuss. There's Alfie, getting ready to climb up on that climbing frame. There's a little girl pushing a stroller with a baby doll in it. But all of the grown-ups are going off here, and many of the children are stopping to watch too, because somebody is making a terrible fuss. All the helpers were crowded around. Can you see the child in the middle? Somebody is upset. There we are. Right in the middle of them was a boy with a runny nose and tears pouring down his cheeks, yelling at the top of his voice, "I want my mummy! I want my mummy!" he shouted. Oh, so he's having a problem because he really wants his mom. He's upset. The kind helpers were trying to comfort him, but he just went on yelling, "I want my mummy!" "Don't worry, we'll soon find her for you," said one. "Tell us your name, dear, will you?" said another. But the boy would not tell them his name. He was far too busy yelling and sobbing. Sometimes when we get upset, we're not thinking very clearly. Isn't that right? He needs to calm down a little bit and think about what to do next. "Doesn't anyone know his name?" cried one helper. Only one person knew who that boy was, and that person was Alfie. "I know who he is," he told everybody. "His name is Ian Barger, and he goes to Parkside School." Good job, Alfie. How helpful you are. There we go. As soon as Ian caught sight of Alfie, he grabbed him and held on to him very tightly. Then slowly he stopped crying and began sniffing and hiccuping instead. Just at that moment, who should come hurrying up, red in the face, but Ian's mum. So all the helpers are happy that Ian's feeling better. He's hanging on to Alfie. And who's coming here? There's Ian's mother. "Oh dear, oh dear. What a fuss," she said. "I told you I would be just over there buying a pot of geraniums." Then she gave Ian a big hug and wiped his nose. "Poor little Ian," she said. "Did you think you had lost me when I was right over there all the time?" Ian nodded his head. He was still hiccuping and holding tightly onto Alfie's hand. Ian Barger might be a big boy, but right now he's a little boy, isn't he? And that's okay. Sometimes we feel big and sometimes we can feel small. Ian was helped by Alfie to feel a little bit better, wasn't he? He was sad because he couldn't see his mom. Alfie helped him feel better. "Well, I see you had a kind friend to look after you, so you needn't have been frightened, need you, sweetheart?" said Ian's mum, and she beamed at Alfie. Then she thanked the helpers and thanked Alfie specially for taking care of Ian. "How lucky you were here," she told him. That was nice. Afterwards, she and Alfie's mom had a chat. When it was time to go, she bought all three children ice creams. See, Annie Rose has one, and Ian has one, and Alfie has one. That was nice, wasn't it? She bought all three children ice creams. Ian was now holding on to her hand very firmly indeed. Looks like Alfie's mom found a lot of nice flowers to buy. And she and Ian's mother are talking. And the children are enjoying some ice cream. At school next Monday morning, Ian came swaggering out to play with the other boys as usual, and as usual, he took no notice of Alfie and Bernard. But when the ball bounced over into their bit of the playground, and Alfie threw it back, he said, "Thanks, mate." That made the boys very happy. You see that? All the children playing. There's Ian holding the ball. The ball had gotten away from them, and Alfie and Bernard threw it back. Alfie's mum became friendly with Ian's mum while they waited together outside the school gates. One day, Mum invited her to bring Ian for tea after school. Bernard was invited too. Okay, so both boys and their moms are going to come to have some snacks together after school. "Better lock up all the breakables," said Dad when he heard that Bernard and Ian were coming to tea. He's afraid the boys will be wild, isn't he? And break things. But as it turned out, Ian did not break anything at all. He spent most of his time playing with Annie Rose. He helped her to line up her dolls and cuddly toys into a football team, and she told him all their names. Then they made a house for them out of cushions. There's Alfie's mom and Ian's mom talking. There's Annie Rose and Ian, and they are playing with all of Annie Rose's stuffies and dolls. Bernard and Alfie thought that was a very babyish game. They didn't think that playing with Annie Rose's dolls and stuffed animals sounded like fun. But Ian does. But after tea, they all went outside and had a great game together, being big, tough boys. Well, that was kind of nice because Ian spent some time playing with Annie Rose and some time playing with Alfie and Bernard. Kitty Cat doesn't want to play with any of them, I don't think. I don't think she likes a game that is that wild. But the children like it, don't they? That's the end of the story. I love you.